around the roles concept. So we have discussed about the kind of different types of roles what we have, and also I explained about each role and the significance behind it. I think till that point we have stopped it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So Azhar, is this your first session?
Yeah, it's my first session, so that's what I was about to have a conversation before we move on. So,
Okay.
is it something like we need to have an experience in HCM, like 2, 3 years of experience? Only
No,
then you'll be able to, get an opportunity to
see,
work for some organization.
I'll tell you. Yeah, I mean, see, the kind of right now outside market is like this. So not majority of the companies are looking for freshers in a specific domain. Like even it could be either HCM or some other domains. So most of the requirements are mainly for the experienced candidates, right? So when we compare the freshers vacancies and the experienced is little more high weightage there. So the other thing here is, if I talk about this training, for the training purpose, you don't need to have any experience in anything at all. So even though you don't know anything about coding or SQL, that's completely fine because we are just going to learn the application, which I'm going to explain starting from the basics of it. Okay. But yes, after this training, if you want to attend for some interviews, so it's better you can just, mention the experience for 2 to 3 years because that is how the training is also going to be. So after finishing the training, so you will be able to manage the knowledge for you with saying like I'm having 2 to 3 years of experience, which I have already worked in the Oracle Fusion. So that is the kind of knowledge that you are going to get from this training.
Okay. So you mean that we'll be in position to, overlook and like in a position to look like we were working for the past 2, 3 years, you're saying?
That's how you'll be projecting your profile.
Yeah, but what about the live, uh, live experience I was saying? Like, will you be taking us to the like live sessions also, like wherein we'll be coming across live things which
So
we'll be
I'll be
facing?
giving you the case studies. So which are almost, the things which I worked into the real-time projects. So whenever I explain any concept, so whatever the real-time work that's going to be assigned in a real project, right? So that's the kind of case studies that I'll be assigning it to you all. So at least with with that work, you'll be able to at least project yourself that I have worked on these things which are already done in the real-time projects. So that that will ensure the interviewer is knowing that you have worked on the real-time projects. So that way, that is how the training is going to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, because see, got to know that they were just being frank that the HCM is not for the beginners. It's for the it's for the experienced person. Then I was like, okay, so since how many years you've been working? Then I said
it's
six
almost
years.
7 plus years. Yeah.
And yes, for the past 4 years, I've been working as a HR generalist. Then I informed them. Then they said, okay, see, currently the market is for the experienced persons, not for the freshers.
Exactly. Yeah.
So then they asked me to add HCM in my experience.
Okay.
That will be an advantage for you since you are working for the past 4 years. You can
Mm.
add HCM in your resume.
Yeah.
So I said, okay.
Understood. See, if you are projecting yourself as 4 years of experience, completely next year, so you should be able to understand in 4 years what are all the things that you could have worked if you have worked in the real-time projects. So
Yeah.
even currently as a 7 years of experienced candidate, right? So the two modules which I'm going to explain, which is global HR and absence management. So pretty much I have worked on all these, all the different functionalities in these two modules. Okay. And the
Mm-hmm.
explanation which I'm going to give is almost like whatever the things that I have worked on so far, I'll explain everything. And as 3 years or 4 years of experience, and if you are working in some MNC, let's say Infosys, right? So you will not get a chance to work on all the concepts because there are two things here. One is technical and one is functional. So when you got into a project in any of the MNCs, for the first 3 or 4 years, you will not be involved, to work in all the concepts across different modules. Maybe you would have given a specific work area. It could be technical area or functional area, and you are dedicated to that particular, zone itself. So you can even project yourself that way. I am completely dedicated to the technical, work that that is done in a specific project where I have worked on creating the reports, dashboards, analysis. So that is more than enough for you to explain in the interviews. But the only thing is, even in the functional side, if you have a knowledge about that, even though you haven't worked real time on it, that will just add some weightage to your profile. Right? Doesn't mean that 4 years you could have worked on everything at all, like every modules and every concept in that. So different companies, different sort of work that they are, giving it to employees, right?
Okay, so like after the completion of the course, will you be helping us to crack out the interview, like how you should be,
I
uh,
will
you know,
help you to take, to attend for the mock interviews, which will be conducted by me because I was in the interview panel for a couple of almost like 50 plus interviews. So
hmm.
I did recruited some of the candidates. So I know how exactly the interview process is going to be and how
Okay.
kind of questions that interviewer will be expecting from you, right? So if you're able to clear that particular mock interviews, so we're going to have multiple mocks. So as long
Mm-hmm.
as you feel confident about it. So if you're able to do that, so the real interviews won't be a problem at all.
All right. And how about the grace period which you'll be giving after the completion?
For grace period for what? For you to get ready for the interview or something else? Is it? Can you hear me? I
For the
think your voice got broke. Can you repeat that again?
okay, I think the internet is troubling.
Yeah. So
No,
you
no, I
said,
was saying like
Mhm.
yeah, please go ahead.
No, I was just talking about the grace period. So this grace period, you was asking for what exactly? That uh, practice for?
About the practice sessions.
Okay.
Like
Practice?
you'll be giving access, right?
Yes.
So I was saying about the access only. Like
Uh,
how long you'll be supporting with the access.
See, access for you to go into the application and learn the things. So I'll be able to,
Mm-hmm.
I think till the time you want to practice that, that won't be a problem at all. I'll be able to provide you some application to practice for it, which I'll take care of that. That won't be a problem. So the only thing is, so once this interview, I mean, the complete course is done for next 2 months, maybe we might have a week or so, like a week or 2 weeks time for you to get ready for the interviews, or else we can have first mock in the first week after the completion. So based on that, we can have multiple mocks after that, and till these mock sessions are happening, you will be having an application for you to practice. And that mock interviews will be happening as long as you feel confident that you will be able to go for the real interviews and crack it. That won't be a problem. Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, please proceed. I have taken a lot of your time. So sorry.
Totally fine. So I suggest you, to get the recorded sessions for the last 4 sessions, maybe. One is the demo and the other three are the recorded training sessions for the first 3 sessions, which we had already. So you can go through them. It's not that complicated. It's completely like the basics, what we have discussed.
Mm-hmm.
So once you go through them, you'll be able to connect with what we're discussing today. Okay.
All right, all right,
Right. Okay.
all right. Won't you be explaining like after like once you're done with this batch?
Uh, so after we are done with this batch, what was the question?
Yeah, like I missed the sessions, right?
Yeah.
So will you be covering that, or you want me to just go ahead with the
I
recordings?
suggest you to go through the recordings, and if there is any question in it, because those sessions are very slow phase that I have taken, uh,
Okay,
it will be easy for you to understand that. So if there are any questions, we can always discuss, and we can even connect it if needed, just for 20 minutes to explain that again. That won't be a problem.
all right,
Okay.
great,
Thanks.
great, all right.
Sure, sir. Let me just, okay, this is the, so we do have these many modules and even many more modules for HCM, but we are covering only the core HR and absence management as a part of this training. And the reason because this core HR is very base model, which is needed for the remaining modules to work on. And absence management is one other module, which is currently needed by most of the organizations outside, which are getting HCM implementation done. So these two will definitely put some weightage on your profile. And for 3 to 4 years, you'll be able to manage with these two modules.
Mhm. So we'll be covering all these talent, payroll,
It's
compensation,
only these
benefits,
two
everything, right?
modules as a part of our training.
Yeah, we'll be going through all of these modules, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's only these two modules, not any other module that we are touching in this training.
Okay, you're saying about today or till we
No, I'm saying
finish?
about the entire training for the next 2 months. We're going to talk about the core HR and absence management, technical and functional, both the concepts. If you see the concepts here, so we have these many concepts.
Hmm.
So in
So
core
in
HR itself, we have pretty much like this and absence, and also the technical part is again separate. So this
hmm
will take us around 40 plus sessions, which is for the next 2 months.
okay, and the remaining ones we won't be dealing with that, or we'll be dealing after that.
We won't be dealing with that. So unless there is a batch specifically needed a training for a specific module, uh, that time we'll be considering those modules. But if someone is coming into fresh, coming fresh as into this particular HCM modules, and if they want to get their career started here, they are good to go with core HR and absence to at least give the interviews and get in, so that they can learn the other modules within that itself, within the same company, right? So that's the
Hmm.
intention here. But if anyone want specifically looking for other modules training, we can even arrange for.
Yeah, yeah, I was looking for like payroll and compensation.
Okay, then I'll talk to Tirupati and see if any other trainer can arrange these particular, training sessions, because right now I'll be focused more on core HR and absence for the next 2 months. So
Hmm.
parallelly, if you want to get trained on these two also, there might be an option. If not, after this training is done, so you can even try arranging some sessions for these two as
Hmm.
well. Okay.
All right, all right. So like other institutes, I think they are dealing with all the modules which you are just mentioned over here. So that's why I was asking you
But
curiously.
the only thing here, no. So if you want to learn all these modules,
Mm.
then it's not going to be a 2 month schedule. So it could be like for the next 6 months, you'll be learning these modules, because the kind of concept that needs to be explained, it's not that simple, because technical is very easy. This is common across different modules, technical part. But when it comes to functional, only for core HR, we have these many concepts. And if you want to learn theoretically as well as practically what happens in the real-time project, even 40 plus sessions are not enough for core HR and absence, end to end, if you want to learn for it, right?
Mhm.
So all
Pawan sir,
Ravi, you're saying something?
sorry, sorry sir. Sir, can you show me that skill
Which one?
technical 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 concept sir.
Your voice is not clear.
Technical this that one sir. Okay, okay, okay sir. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead. Uh, I was thinking, I was in impression that we'll be dealing with all the modules, but yeah, since you made it clear that we'll be going through only the
Yes. It's only these.
first two. Yep.
Okay.
All right. All right.
Sure. Okay. So we already discussed about the overview of basically the Fusion HCM, how exactly it works, and what are the different benefits for a company to implement this particular application. Also the security part. So these two are the main focus for the first three sessions which are done. And also we have seen this user creation, like in order to get into the application, how exactly user needs to be created. And we have types of users, which we already spoke, so which is right here. So we have two types of users, basically implementation users and employee users. So which is already
Ex
explained in our recorded session earlier. Also the roles concept, like how many different types of roles we have and what is the significance behind each and every role over there. Yeah. Azar, I could see that you're unmuting yourself. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, is it possible that you can cover the topics which I am interested in?
When you say you're interested in, are those from these modules or something else?
Yeah, the ones which I just said, like payroll and compensation.
Payroll and compensation, right? Yeah. But what was the plan? Like, do you want to learn them in between the training itself, or is it after this training is done?
No, no, like you can go ahead with the training,
Yeah.
but can you just find out some time so that we can, in a day or
Okay.
in the morning when
Mhm.
it's feasible for you, so that we can catch up with the things and simultaneously we can, you know, work on the other parts also,
I
like
understand.
the.
So let me talk to Tirupati about this particular compensation and payroll training,
Mm-hmm,
because payroll is something, if I need to be saying about that, right? Because I haven't got much of a chance to work on the payroll for the
mm-hmm,
last years. So I won't be able to give you the 100% best knowledge in that. So payroll, I'll try to find someone else. But
mm-hmm.
compensation, I can explain you. So which I'll talk to the institute first, and then I can get that plan sorted out. Okay.
All right, all right. Okay, please proceed with the current data. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, I was talking about the roles, right? So we even discussed about what kind of different roles we have, and each role, what is the significance behind that. So basically, if I just quickly open that PPT, yeah, this one. So implementation and employee users, and I can share this PPT as well, or else the recording itself will have this PPT, which you can, kind of go through and understand the different concepts here. So again, we discussed about types of workers. So we have pending worker, non-worker, contingent, and employee. And for each category, we understood what exactly the kind of significance behind pending worker, who can be called as pending workers, non-workers, and other two categories as well. And this was the main concept.
Counsel,
Yes, Ravi.
if possible, can you share with me this PPT, sir?
I'll share this across. Don't worry. Okay, I'll just send this. I'll have a WhatsApp group created for everyone who will be continuing this training. And then I'll share these PPTs as well as the recorded sessions over.
I need it, sir.
Yes, yes, I'll do that.
Taking my notes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So these were the different types of roles. And also there is one more Word document which I have created explaining in detail about the roles, which also I'll share it with you so that you can understand that in a better way. Okay.
But I'm not there, sir, in that group.
No, no, I'll create the WhatsApp group. I haven't created that yet. I'll create that as once the batch is confirmed, like who will be
Mhm.
continuing.
Got it. Yeah.
I'll create that. Don't worry. Okay, so now let me just go back. So we'll just go with the same sequence what we have here. Okay, so that's about the roles concept as I explained. And I'll be giving you some case studies on the roles as well once you both have gone through the roles concepts from the recorded sessions and understood a bit about that. So then I'll start explaining the navigations as well as giving you some case studies to work on. Okay. So I'll just move on to this, projects implementation and support. So let's understand what exactly that we have to get it from this particular part. So in real time, how exactly the projects gets created, right? See, right now, if you are attending for some interviews, so you will be interviewed to, but to work for a specific customer or to work for different customers, supporting their application, right? So I'll just go with this example for now. So you can see some examples which I've already given. Okay. So let's say ABC Solutions is a company, who is, already using HCM application. Maybe they want to have someone to support for their application whenever there are some issues, or if they want to implement new features whenever Oracle, kind of, creates that new features or releases the new updates, right? So there could be different reasons why some consultants are required. So you might need to create some of the reports for the customer to analyze some data, right? Different reasons will there be. So for this particular ABC Solutions company, there'll be an HCM application which is already implemented, right? And they need someone to support their application. If they don't have anyone in their company who knows Oracle HCM, they will be requiring some consultants from, from other companies, or, if they want to hire directly, they will also hire it from outside, right? So that is where you will be getting recruited to support their application. So if they are already using the application, you will be given for the support. Let's say ABC Solutions is something which they are implementing it as a new. They don't have HCM application so far. They are going to implement it very freshly. So that's where you will be hired for the implementation projects. So we have two different types of projects here. So I'll just put it here itself. The implementation, and then we have support projects. So for implementation, it's going to be like, they are starting fresh in HCM and they want to implement some of the modules. It could be, let's say, core HR, let's say absence management, right? So let's say if they want to implement these two modules in the initial stage, so they will have this implementation project started, and there'll be some people who will be working on this implementation project, right? So there could be one functional consultant, two technical consultants, and one business analysis person. So multiple teams will be involved over here. So I would have already given you those names here. Let me show you that. See, so there could be these different categories which will be involved in as a part of implementation. So project manager is, there will be one person, solution architect, and functional consultant, technical consultant. So it's not necessary that every company has to follow the same structure. So some companies might be just having project manager and only these two categories, right? So functional consultant itself can, act as a solution architect. See, solution architect's job is simple. So they have to understand the complete organization structure, and they have to explain on how exactly we can fit that particular structure into Oracle Fusion HCM. They have to design that solution. So once they design it, functional consultants will implement that configuration, which means they will do the configurations. And whatever is coming under the technical category, technical consultants will take care of that. So that is how the kind of implementation projects happen. But how a project is given to any particular company, because the ABC Solutions is a company where they want to implement HCM, and they don't have anyone who, who knows about the HCM application, right? So at that time, they will reach out to some implementation providers in the market, right? If you understand this terminology. So there are multiple implementation providers. As I was saying, so Infosys, IBM, Accenture, or Capgemini, right? There are multiple companies where they are having multiple HCM consultants, and they'll be offering the services, implementing Oracle HCM for some other clients. So that's where ABC Solutions will be reaching out to multiple service providers in the market, and whatever they feel is best. Like they might be having this criteria, like, whomever is going to implement my HCM application, so they need to have certified resources, and they would have done these many implementations in the past, right? So these kind of criteria they would be having. So based on that criteria, one implementation provider will be decided, and the project will be handed over to this particular company. So, and this company will be having these different categories of people where they will start implementing HCM application for ABC Solutions. So that's how the real-time projects happen. Okay. And let me just go back. So that is where we are calling implementation and support. So implementation is nothing but someone who is coming into new, who is coming into HCM as a new customer. And support is basically for someone who is already using HCM application and they need the support, maybe to add the new features to the application, to resolve the existing issues, to support for new modules implementation, right? All these kind of things comes under these two categories. Okay. So any questions on how exactly it happens in the outside market? Because this is also something really important for you to understand on how exactly the project is handed over to a company, right? Okay. So moving ahead. So we have this enterprise structure, established enterprise structure, because HCM application is designed in such a way, so we can configure any enterprise structure in a proper chain. Like there is a structure which is defined by Oracle. So I'll just show you very quickly. So enterprise structure in the sense, if you just understand this particular, slide here. So on the top, there will be a top level enterprise. For example, if I just tell you some example, right? So you can consider TCS. So TCS is a company, and there will be many divisions for the TCS which will be across worldwide. So if I just open this and show you the basic examples. So TCS is a top level enterprise, which means TCS is a company. So under which TCS divisions will be multiple. TCS, let's say, involved in automobiles, and they would have involved in, let's say, manufacturing and consultancy is also there. So for example, let's consider TCS is a part of, TCS is actually having these three divisions. Let's understand that. Okay. And this particular divisions would be organized or getting operated in multiple countries, right? So automobiles itself would be getting operated in India, US, UK. Let's say manufacturing could be in some other guest, right? So let's say manufacturing is not in India. Let's say it's only in the US and UK. Let's just say. So similarly, consultancy, let's say it's only in India and UK. So it's a basic structure in the outside market where there will be a top level enterprise. If I just go with some MNC, right? And they will be having multiple divisions, like multiple industries that they are operating in. And each industry is operating in which different countries. So it's a basic structure what even Oracle has given us options to configure. So you can see that this will be a top level enterprise. Then we have divisions. So and then we have legal entities. So when we say legal entities, right? So for every country, there will be one legal entity. So I'll tell you the term called legal entity. What exactly does that means, right? So when we say legal entity, so it's basically a setup or a company that is entitled to a particular legislation. When we say entitled, let's say in India, TCS India or TCS Private Limited, in India. For US, that could be like, TCS consultancy, something else. There could be different names which we can go with. But that particular company is completely operated based on India legislation rules, right? So it's a company which is entitled to that particular legislation. In India, if it is calling as TCS Private Limited, so that is entitled to the India legislation rules. Whatever the rules we have in India, it has to be following that thing. So maybe in US, as we said, let's say TCS services or TCS consultancy. So which is again entitled to the US legislation. So it should follow the complete rules based on the US legislation, what they have. So for every country, there can be one or more legal entities. Okay. So that's how it will be. So legal entity is nothing but it's a company which is entitled to a specific legislation. So we can even just say that. And for automobiles itself, there could be three legal entities for three different countries. And there could be a chance that India itself can have more than one legal entity as well. So it's just a terminology based on the company structure we are going to define in that. So it's basically the legal entities after this particular thing. So let's say in India, we have this TCS Private Limited, right? But TCS Private Limited, let's say it's being organized in multiple cities. We have in Bangalore, let me just put it like this. So Bangalore, Noida, Hyderabad. So I'm just going with example here. Let's say this particular TCS Private Limited is being operated in multiple cities in India itself. So Bangalore, Noida, and Hyderabad. So there is a concept which is called business unit here. So if you just understand this slide. So after the legal entities, we have business units. So one particular legal entity can have one business unit, which means, let's say if legal entity is TCS Private Limited for India. So even business unit, we can just go with the same thing. Let's say TCS Private Limited B. We can even call it with this particular name. So I'm just highlighting that so that it's easy for us to explain the things. So we can even have one particular business unit under one legal entity, and it's always, see, this is not something which we are going to decide. So it's completely depends based on the customer. So if they want to have multiple business units representing something else, right? So we can have multiple business units under one single legal entity. Or if they just wanted to go with one particular business unit, we can just go with one, right? So even though it is being operated in multiple cities, we can just go with one particular business unit here. Okay. So, but after the business unit, we have this other structure which we are talking about. So there is something called reference data set concept. Okay. And so we will come into it, deeper understanding on reference data sets, how exactly it works. Okay. Now let me put it this way. So we even have locations, departments. So this is a basic structure, like top level enterprise, their divisions, legislation, legal entity, business unit, location, and the departments. So because there could be some sort of questions coming up, like what exactly the enterprise structure, Oracle Fusion HCM. So we should be able to explain them in, based on this particular example, like there will be a top level enterprise, and then there'll be like multiple divisions for that. And then we have legislations, legal entity, we have business units, locations, and the departments. So this is a normal structure, how exactly it's now available for many of the companies here, right? But again, if they are, if the interviewer asking about what exactly a legal entity is, so if you are able to understand the example, you will be able to explain them very easily what a legal entity is. So when we say entity, it's basically a company or organization, right? So which is completely entitled to that particular legislation rules. They have to follow these particular rules. So that's why we call it as legally registered entity, which is completely entitled to that particular country's legislation rules. Okay. So understand the significance for it and try to frame it in your own words, which is also okay. You don't need to by heart the way exactly how I am saying, but you can just try to, understand the significance of this terminology first, right? Okay. Let me just go to the PPT and we can just try to have a quick walkthrough on each and everything here. So an enterprise, when we call it as an enterprise, so it's a collection of legal entities sharing common control and management. Yeah. So legal entities. So one top level enterprise can have multiple legal entities sharing a common control and management, right? So there could be, there could be a team which is commonly managing this entire legal entities. It's basically a common control which they're having along with the management. So in other words, an enterprise is a top level organization. Yes, the way that we just talked about the TCS. So it could be a top level organization there. Okay. And so we have this particular task to open the top level organization configuration in the application. So I'll be getting into the application for a quick minute so that you can understand the application navigation, how it looks like. And also, so for every topic that we are discussing, there will be a navigation to it. So when we are discussing that particular application, I'll be taking you through that navigation as well, so that you also know how to operate yourself in the application, and then you can also play with it so that this application, if you are able to understand the clear navigations in it, it's easy for you to get into the real-time interviews and explain them exactly by visualizing that particular navigation. Okay. So yeah. So if you see, the task name is manage enterprise HCM information, right? So in order to get into this task, you have to click on your profile icon, and there is something called setup and maintenance. So you can open this, and in the right side, you can see a task bar. Click on this and go for search. So this is where you can search any kind of task what you have. The problem is even sometimes my access would have got restricted in this particular thing. So manage enterprise. Yeah, you can see it here. Manage enterprise HCM information. So this is what I was referring to. So you can click on this. So this will take you to the top level enterprise configuration in the system. Okay. All right. So you can see it here. So this is basically a real client that I am currently working on. It's called Innova Solutions. Just a minute, guys. Okay. So this is where we can actually configure the top level enterprise data, like what exactly their location address and few other configurations. Like duplication check, there is something called as duplication check. So which means if some employee is already created, if you are trying to create it again, create the same person again, it has to tell you that this person is already available in the system. And on what factors, if you want to create the duplicate check, is something you can define. Okay. So all those different kind of configurations we can do it here. We'll come to this page. So we'll understand clearly on what exactly the configurations are available here. But this particular navigation is mainly to understand the top level enterprise configuration. Okay. Let me go back to this slide. And this is a slide which we have seen. So basically the high level structure, what we have for the enterprise. So another thing is divisions, right? So we even had understood like what exactly the kind of divisions will be available. So divisions are nothing but the industries that the particular organization is worked with different, industries. So a division refers to a business or product oriented subdivision, right? So each division organizes itself differently to deliver products and services or addresses different markets. So it could be different products that they'll be, kind of manufacturing or different business that they are in. So those are called divisions. And even we have a task to understand or to configure those divisions as well. Right? Same thing. Just need to come into this particular navigation. Try something this way. So we can open manage divisions. We have it here. Let's see if there is anything available. Then we can just. I'll just go to advanced. There are no divisions right now. So if you want to create any divisions, you can start creating. This is just a basic configuration for the divisions, not major details you need to give it over here. So you can just create the effective start date for this division. And in HCM, everything is almost date tracked. So you can just say that this particular record is getting started from this and ended to this particular date. So everything is date tracked. Because historical data is really important for a company to understand the past info as well as the current information, right? So everything is almost date tracked. So we can even say there is a business which is started from 2001 Jan and then 2001 Jan 1st, something called chemicals. You can say that. And then, yeah. So address, if you want to give it, you can give it status, you can keep it active. And there is something called action reason. So this is a concept which we'll be discussing in detail because for every transaction that you are doing in the system, so we almost have an option to create the action reasons. So, so based on the action reasons, so you can say that, okay, this particular record is created because of this particular reason, right? So that is so for every transaction, you'll be able to, choose some action reasons over there. And then you can go to next and fill in some basic details. So if you want to provide a specific manager to this particular, division, let's say this entire division is being managed by this particular person. So all these people are already existing in the application with different roles or whatever they are having. Let's say I want to assign Adav Aditya, right? Or Surendra, someone. So I can say this division, chemicals division's manager is Surendra, who will be operating this entire division. So this is for the data purpose. So if someone wants to know who is the manager for the entire chemical division, they'll be able to understand from the data here. Then you can go to next, and that's it. You can just submit this information. So that is how the basic configurations can be done in the system. And these configurations are pretty much done by the functional consultants. Okay. All right. So let me go back to the slide. So managed divisions pretty much, or it's not a complex thing. So it's very easy navigation and easy to configure as well. Okay. So the next thing is legal entity. So we were talking about this terminology, right? So a legal entity is a recognized party with rights and responsibilities given by the legislation. So recognized party or recognized organization or anything we can call it. So with rights and responsibilities provided by that particular legislation. It could be India, US or UK, anything else. So and there is this legal entities have the right to own property, the right to trade and the responsibility to repay debt and etc. See, when they are legally registered, obviously they can own a property with that legal entity name and they can start trading their business. Along with that, if there are any debts, they have to repay, all these kind of rules and regulations are given by that particular legislation, particular country we can call it. So a legal entity is called as a legal employer. That's exactly when we can call them as legal employer. Let me just tell you the difference between legal entity and the legal employer. Because legal employer is a terminology which we frequently use it across HCM models. Legal entity, and we have legal employer. So we understood about the legal entity, right? So it's a recognized organization by the government by providing the rules and regulations state. But when that particular recognized organization starts hiring people, that's when it's called as legal employer. So employer is nothing but who employs the people, right? So legal entity is just an organization. We can call it as just a building. But when someone starts coming into the building as an employee, that's when it's called as a legal employer. Because legal employer is a term which we use very frequently when we hire the people or when we shift or transfer them from one country to other country. That is when we call it as transferring from one legal employer to another legal employer, right? So that is a term which we use very frequently. But the difference, as I said, it's just a setup, and this is when that setup starts hiring the people. Okay. And there is one more terminology here. See, the terminologies which I'm explaining are really important for you to make interviewer understand that you have gone through the application. Okay. So this is called payroll statutory unit. So which is called PSU. So payroll statutory unit is nothing but, let's say this particular legal employer, we can call it with the same name. Let's say TCS India Private Limited. Okay. So if this particular legal employer itself is paying the employees, right? TCS Private Limited itself is paying the employees, then this is called PSU. But there are some places, so where TCS Private Limited is hiring the employees, but payroll is from different source. Let's say some TCS solutions. Due to for some reason they would be having this kind of structure. So legal employer could be TCS Private Limited, for which the employees are getting hired for. But when it comes to payroll statutory unit, TCS Solutions will be the payroll statutory unit. So these are just the terms. You don't need to worry much about these terminologies. So just for a basic understanding, you need to understand what an PSU called and what exactly the significance of legal employer and the legal entity. So that's what even we have it here. So it represents the legal employer and our payroll statutory unit. Okay. So any questions with these terminologies, because it's really important for you to understand these three terms so that you can relate with the other discussions what we will be going through.
Pawan sir, I am familiar with this terminologies, sir. It's okay, sir, for
Oh,
me.
nice, nice. Okay. So Azhar, you're able to follow with the Azhar is not here, right? Okay. Sure. We do have some other slides here, which I'll explain you, starting tomorrow.
Okay, Pawan sir,
Yes.
other is not there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I speak in Telugu?
No, go ahead. It's okay.
ఇట్స్ ఓకే అన్నారు, తెలుగులో అన్నారు. సార్ ఇప్పుడు అదే అదే సార్, ఇప్పుడు మీరు చెప్పారు కదా ఈరోజు క్లాస్ అంతా, ఇవి నేను జనరల్ గా చెక్ చేశాను సార్. కొంచెం ఇది స్టార్ట్ చేసుకుందాం అన్నప్పుడు